your presence here. It's a real blessing to have you here.
So, Ida, you are a living treasure of this region, but something has made you very, very special and called you apart. When did you first understand that there was something in this world that was yours to do? Was it when you were very young?
Well,
It's a bit more gradual, maybe.
well, when I was raised in a farm in Samson. My dad had a big farm and ranch going, and as a child, there were so many of us. 11 kids. I can't imagine. I can't imagine my mother trying to keep up with 11 children, but she did somehow. And so we all had chores. We always had a big garden. There was a time to play, which was, sometimes seemed like never, but there was, a little bit time to play. But I remember my dad, he had granaries, sheds, and some of them looked like playhouses.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, and there was one that was kind of really getting rugged, torn up, eh? And my dad said to me, Ida, you're going to be a teacher. And I didn't know what a teacher was, because I wasn't in school yet. So after a while, he'll tell me, so what are you going to be? And I'd say, Snomagyo, and that's a teacher. So one day, I was in grade maybe 3, 4. My dad said, I went to the priest and I got you some chalk and I got you some chalkboard that they're throwing out. And they threw out some old desks, so I got you 4 in there. So you're going to be teaching in your shack. Anyway, as I grew up, I went to school. At that time, we started at 8 years old, eh?
In which school?
At the Ermineskin. And that time it was not called a early childhood. There was no such names at that time. It was a baby class. That's what it was called at that time. Baby class. That was first day in school in grade 1.
Wow.
Yeah, no kindergarten. And no English. Yeah.
Oh, you started in Cree?
I had no English when I went to school. I remember this one teacher, her name was Miss Bono. I always remember Miss Bono. She was the one who taught me how to say, recite poems. And and that's how I learned to speak English, just through poems. And we traveled, Karen Littlechild and I went and did contests to recite in other reserves, like in Saddle Lake, St. Paul area, now Blue Quills. So we did one there. But you know what? Even at that age, I didn't know what I was saying, but I enjoyed looking at the people laughing.
The performance.
And that really built my confidence.
And your talent. You were starting to realize you had talent.
I suppose so, eh? I believe so. So we were dispersed all over the cities for our high school. So I went to Edmonton, and I came back, and I did my grade 12 in Panoka. So, and then I just, that's when I met this guy here. From there on, we kind of talked, and eventually we just stayed together. We had our first home at the old tea churches at Ermineskin. And 3 years after, we got married and had children.
So you married, you married in the traditional way.
Actually, no. I married in a church. He was Protestant, and I was Roman Catholic. And my mother told him, you marry my daughter in that church, in my church. I do go to church every now and then, but I'm more with the ceremonies. I mean, it's the same God we're speaking to. Victor, I don't believe in different gods. I know my late mom used to say one time, one of my nephews, he understands Cree, but he won't respond back in Cree. And my mom said to him, you know, when you die and you meet the Creator, and the Creator speaks to you in Cree, how are you going to respond? You're going to have to respond in Cree.
Are your young people learning Cree? Do your grandchildren speak and understand?
Some of them understand. I think from age 55, the Cree is there. Anything under, like the 40-year-olds, it's a little shaky, you know, but it's never too late. You know, I speak Cree to my kids and to make sure that and they can pretty much understand. Because when you're immersing them, and you know, you do all kinds of things to for them to understand what you're saying. Like you can actually point at stuff when you're talking, and they'll get it.
Ida, your mother and your father and your kukam, they had a big influence in your passion for Cree?
Of course, yeah, of course. Especially my mom.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, my grandparents were all Cree speakers. None of them had English. My grandfather on my dad's side was a chief. And in 1951, because he didn't speak English, they didn't let him run for chief, which is very sad. And my grandma, his wife,
She was Cree?
She was Cree. As a little girl, in the old days when they used to steal kids from each other in different camps, my grandma was one of them who got stolen by the Blackfeet people. Yeah, so she spoke Blackfoot. She spoke she could Stoney and Cree. So she was trilingual, but she didn't have any English. Like right now, I'm working with a committee of 5, and we've been developing an app, a Cree app. It's called the Maskwacis Cree, and we're using it in our schools. You know, and I urge people. When it first came out, a few months after, we had 5 adults come from Saskatchewan, and they came to the site at the museum where we do our work. And
Which museum is that?
it's called the Cultural Museum right in Maskwacis here. You'll find it right on the main road there, right across the tribal office, Samson. And these people came to visit without invitation, and they walked in and started speaking Cree to the office girls. And being white, of course, we're thinking, oh. And
Oh, the Saskatchewan people were white.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they were using the app. In our day and age, I'm telling my Cree instructors, there's nothing wrong with using technology. You know, and ceremonies, why not? What's another way to pass on? I get so, because it's my passion, I can get political when it comes to Cree language. And French immersion, you know, they get so much funding.
Yes,
And I keep
protection.
telling
They have for years and years and years.
And I keep telling my leadership here, you know, how come the 4 bands haven't had an immersion school? We have so many, we have 14 schools in the reserve, if not more. But immersion schools,
You don't have one?
they don't have one. I'm still working on it. I think eventually they'll, I've been talking to my chief about it.
Well, you know, Ida, you already know how to do this from your shack when you were a child. You were doing peer-to-peer immersion education then,
That's
so
true.
you
That was
obviously know the
prophesied over
method.
you.
Yeah. Well, I did run an immersion program, and I started in '96, and I followed a set of 15. Well, I started off with 26 students, and I finished with 15 students by the time we did grade 6. Yeah. And that one came to a dead halt you know, and the leadership allowed it. And up to today, my students and I cried when, yeah, it was a real sad time for me. But I proved to myself that it can be done. I also proved to myself that those kids are doing really well. I have one in down east doing, he's a political analyst, yeah, and now he's going into law. I have another one in Montreal studying. He's just starting his second year, I believe, in economics. And I have others, you know, that have done really well. I think when you're raised in a strong traditional, when you come from a very strong traditional family, you naturally blend into both worlds because you know how to balance your life. To me, it's what happened with residential issue is, you know, it's how my people were tormented, and still I see a lot of families that are, you know, very dysfunctional. You know, there's still people out here that are suffering because of the terrible abuse. The land is the answer for Creek people. What the settlers did to us, more so the government, you know, when they took the lands, and when our people said you can have our lands, they meant only as so much down. That's what they meant. They didn't give up the lands. But I'm no politician, and I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to delve into that. To me, as long as we have the four elements, you know, the water, air, we're still going to survive as people.
As people have done since time immemorial.
Since time immemorial, yeah.
Up and down.
We're never
in
going to
and
go
out.
away, you know. Neither's the white man. They're never going to go away. So we just have to learn to get along.
How can we do that better?
I think we can do that better by talking, you know. We just have to speak more. I do believe that there are ways we can get together to talk.